What is up, guys, and welcome to my first anime review. This will be episode 1, part 1 of Jojo's Bizarre Adventure. This is going to be the Phantom Blood episode 1 review. So, the episode starts with a wreckage. Of course, it's a carriage, and a man named Dario Brando, who is the father of Dio Brando, the biggest asshole in anime history. Anyway, Dario comes down to the wreckage intending to steal what is there. But there is a survivor, and the survivor's name is George Joestar, who is the father of the main protagonist, Jonathan Joestar. So anyway, Dario takes credit as the person who saved George Joestar, despite doing jack shit. But George Joestar wants to repay Dario Brando by allowing Dario's son Dio to live with the family. But this is later in the episode. Then the scene cuts to Jonathan and Dio's lives before they meet each other at the Joestar mansion. It shows the contrast between Jonathan's rich and somewhat happy life and Dio living in the English slums. You see, with Dio, it starts off with him reading a book in front of his dad. But of course, he's not reading it for his dad, he's reading it for himself. And his dad, Dario, who was credited for rescuing George Joestar, is dying, and he's in a bed, and he requires his son Dio to buy booze for him. But in order to get booze for him, he has to win against people in chess matches at a local bar. That is Dio's life in a nutshell. Now, in between these scenes, there's Jonathan Joestar, who is a rich kid who gets to eat fancy food. Of course, he eats very sloppily because he grew up very pampered, and his father picks on him a little bit. And eventually, when Jonathan goes outside, he sees a poor girl named Erina having bullies pick on her, and they pick on her by threatening to strip down the doll that she owned, to the point it got naked, because they wanted to see if the doll looked like a real girl. Frickin' weirdos. Anyway, Jonathan shows up, and he tries to beat up the bullies, but they kick the shit out of him. And, he leaves saying that he had to be some kind of gentleman, had to stick up for her because she was a damsel in distress. And she picks up his handkerchief and goes, "Oh, look, it's Jonathan Joestar." So anyway, cuts back to Dio, and Dio's father, Dario, dies. Like I said, he was literally on his deathbed going, "I want some booze!" And then, before he dies, Dario gives Dio a letter and says, "Give this to the Joestar family, you'll be their heir." And, Dio spits on his father's grave, but then he comes up with a goal. He wants to become the heir of the Joestar family and take all the money from the silver spoon from George Joestar, because, I don't know, Dio's a fucking asshole. So, Dio arrives to Joestar Mansion, and Jonathan welcomes him like a normal person. Of course, Dio, being a goddamn asshole, kicks Jonathan's dog Danny in the face as soon as Danny greets him. So, it's like, Dio just fucking arrived to the mansion. Then he talks to Jonathan for a bit. Then the dog comes up to him and he fucking kicks him in the face. Sorry, he knees him in the face. What an asshole. And then, over time, Dio ends up becoming the new favorite in the house, because like I said, Jonathan's a sloppy eater, and he's a little bit lazier than Dio. And this kind of makes Jonathan feel bad, but, this is part of Dio's plan, because obviously if he wants to be the heir, he wants to make good impressions on George Joestar and make Jonathan look like shit, so that Jonathan gets none of the silver spoon. And it doesn't end here. There's eventually a boxing match where Jonathan and Dio just decided to go boxing against each other, and then Jonathan goes a little easy on him. He's just throwing punches. Then Dio punches him extremely hard in the face and pokes his eye to the point it bleeds. Yeah, that's Dio for you. And this isn't even the worst thing he's done. Wait till the later episodes, my dude. And Jonathan loses, and he is humiliated, and Dio spreads a rumor, literally right after the fight, that Jonathan should not be taught any good fighting skills, such as the eye-poking trick, because he's a snitch. And, yeah, they were picking on him, and, you know, Jonathan and Danny eventually walk away. Yeah, Danny's the name of the dog, and, he sees Erina, and Erina, who's the girl who, had the doll earlier, leaves grapes behind. And then after that, there's a montage of Jonathan and Erina, going on dates and falling in love. But of course, Dio had to spoil it by sexually assaulting her, or violating her to be more accurate. What happens is that Dio meets up with the bullies that ripped Erina's doll, that tried to rip apart Erina's doll from earlier in the episode. And he kisses her forcefully, and after that, he says one of the most iconic lines in anime history. Yes, Kono Dio da, or Kono Dio da! Based on what I read on the subtitles, mean it was with me, because he stole her first kiss. Jonathan was not able to have his first kiss with Erina because Dio stole it. Like I said, Dio is an asshole. And then right after that, she starts washing her mouth because obviously she got assaulted. Of course, she's gonna want to wash her mouth out because Dio is an asshole. And of course, logically, he slaps her in the face because, I don't know, she didn't want to kiss him. Like, come on, Dio, stop being such a prick. And then, later on, Jonathan is walking down the street, and he sees Erina, and he tries talking to her, and then she runs off. And then, the bullies from before are laughing at Jonathan, and Jonathan quickly finds out that Dio did something. So, Jonathan runs into the Joestar mansion, and gets in a huge fight with Dio. First, it looks like Dio has, the upper hand, like he's punching Jonathan in the face, and then he knees Jonathan in the face, but then Jonathan takes the knee, and then he starts hitting Dio. And Dio's actually getting his ass kicked, and this makes you feel so good after all the crazy shit he did before. And, Jonathan hits Dio so hard that Dio's blood flies onto a mask hanging on the wall, which is actually foreshadowing of what happens later in Phantom Blood. But we'll talk about that in later episodes. So, Jonathan still keeps kicking Dio's ass, and then eventually Dio pulls out a knife, but then George Joestar stops them. And George punishes Jonathan for being ruthless and blah, 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 even though Dio did all this shit. See, this is why Dio's an asshole. He convinced George Joestar that he is the one that's the heir, and he's the victim, despite doing all these things to Jonathan in order to get the silver spoon. It's all part of the plan. Of course, Dio being an asshole, because he lost the fight, he decides to strike it even by killing Jonathan's dog. Yes, he kills his dog. He puts the dog in the oven. What an asshole. And toward the end of the anime, it shows Dio outside at night, because, I don't know, all evil people like to hang out at night. And the episode ends with a shot of the mask, which is foreshadowing for the next episodes. I hope you liked this review. This is my first anime review ever. Like I always say, see you guys next time.